Hi, everybody. This is Deep Work Fast. I'm Chris Grimm. I'm on the road this week, but I didn't want to miss this topic, and it's so relevant. It's so important, actually. I just didn't want to skip this. I dropped a blog this week. It's called Distress Tolerance for Increased Composure and Better Decisions Under Pressure. The reason I'm on the road this week is I just led a men's retreat in Montana. And so this topic is highly relevant, and I'm fresh off of the conversations with those awesome humans about this topic. And I thought, okay, this can't wait. It really needs to be something that I explain well and help you understand why it's important that you build what is called distress tolerance. So first I want to explain what that means, because there's often confusion when I say that, because people say, what do you mean? Like I should tolerate the BS more? I should tolerate people that I don't like? I should tolerate things? And the answer is actually no, that's not what it means. Distress tolerance means that you can stay in the uncomfortable moments longer so that you can resolve the issues, so that you don't instead, right? Let's talk about the opposite. What most people do is that when situations get uncomfortable, whether you're with another person or not, actually isn't the issue, because sometimes those situations have other people in them, but sometimes it's you thinking about a decision you have to make, or maybe an issue that you've been putting off dealing with for a long time. And so on the inside, even thinking about this thing makes you uncomfortable. Your nervous system might get triggered. Maybe your fight or flight response might get triggered, right? Like, so those big things in our lives that feel uncomfortable when we think about them, what we usually do, right? Most people, is that we numb those feelings, we run away from them, we avoid them. And so what happens if you do that is that those things often don't go away, right? They're still with you. They might come up over and over again, and that's where those other people come into play, right? So if it's a decision you have to make at home with your spouse, maybe you have to decide what assisted living you're going to put a parent in. And that is not easy because you and your siblings are not aligned. Maybe we have a resourcing problem. All the variables that come in are with us, usually for a significant amount of time. Often this doesn't happen like in one moment. It's accumulating. And then the longer we put off these decisions, whether that's appropriate or not, it's situational, because it might be something that you don't need to make an immediate decision or take action on, but because we're anticipating those moments where we're not going to be able to put it off anymore, that distress, if you will, builds in our body. And if we already have a lot of stress in our life, if you can imagine, it's compounded, right? Like, so inside your body, you have stress, you have everyday stress, you might have the transactional arguments or conflicts that are happening with the people around you. And then, of course, you're having whatever you're wrestling with yourself. And so the goal of this blog, but really of this video, and much of the work we do on our intensive retreats, and you've probably heard me talk about them before, is to take people out of their lives so that we can isolate, if you will, for a little while in a protected environment so that we can work on this thing. How can I help you and your body tolerate, if not master, the ability to stay in the uncomfortable, the discomfort of the topics that are important, so that when it's time to take action, to make a decision, you're doing it in a confident, composed way. And you're not doing it from a place of stress or fight or flight, right? That's an important thing, because when we are in our fight or flight response, That's governed by a part of our brain, the amygdala was what I'm touching right here, the bottom part, right at where our brain and our neck come together. That's kind of our primal response. That's our self-protective response. That's not the parts of your brain, right, that use the highest level of your cognitive abilities. It's not the part of your brain or the parts of your brain that are going to help you make the best possible decisions. And if you're not calm when you're doing it, then most likely you're going to miss stuff, because when we are in fight or flight, there's chemicals in our body that actually shut down or veil parts of your brain, because we were built not to stand and think about stuff when we're in distress. We were built to run away or to fight. And that is giving power to the rest of your body, not your thinker. So let's come back to this, because I want to talk about what we can do to build our ability to have composure and make great decisions under the highest amounts of distress or stress. So one of the things that we work on is mindfulness and meditation. So for those of you who know me, I don't come from a background of being a yoga teacher or a meditation teacher. I actually learned all of this so that we could use it in corporate environments and environments where it wouldn't look and feel normal for someone to be sitting there with their legs crossed in an om, maybe with their hands in what are called mudras. That wouldn't be normal, right? So I want you to learn to be mindful and to meditate or be super calm and in your, what I call the inner cave, without it looking and feeling awkward to you. So it is important that you find a practice that you will do anywhere. One of those things would be to try a breath work pattern called box breathing. You could look that up. You could in any browser. You can see it's been around for a long time. I've even taught one of these deep work fasts on it. The reason I use box breathing is you can do it anywhere. And when I teach it to leaders, executives, men and women, they tell me, oh, I used it on a plane. I used it before a meeting. Often people will say, I can actually use it in a meeting. When I'm not the one speaking or leading the meeting, I can just do this breathing pattern that calms me down. And by calming yourself down in any moment, you can be what's called mindful. It means you brings your attention into this moment and you start paying more attention. You focus on what's happening in this moment instead of being caught in the past or worried about the future. So being mindful, having that kind of focus in any moment, and then of course being calm is the number one thing I want you to learn. And there are lots of ways to do that. But like I said, I want you to find something that doesn't feel awkward, that doesn't require equipment, right? You don't have to be in a special place. You don't have to spend any money. You can do all of these, just you and you, in whatever way feels good to you, right? So that you're not having to go in a restroom or go in a private place to do that, or leaving other people, that you know how to ground yourself and get in that moment. The second thing we work on is something called cognitive restructuring. That sounds like it's big. So cognitive restructuring is a term for when we reframe the stories you have about yourself and other people. It's the stories we have in our head, those narratives, the thoughts we have about the things that actually create the stress that we're having. So if you are anticipating a bad, stressful meeting with someone, most likely, unless you override that and you restructure those thoughts, you're probably going to have a stressful experience, because we get whatever we think is going to happen. It's true. So if you think you're going to be calm and composed and you know how to make this decision with yourself or these other people, you're going to find a way to do that. And that's the way our cognitive processes work. So there are therapies out there that help you restructure those thoughts. One is called CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. So if you need that because you are having habitual thought patterns that are not helping you, they're keeping you in situations or in thinking patterns that are uncomfortable and creating more stress for yourself, you want to get some help restructuring that. We do some work with CBT. Coaches can do it, not just therapists. You want to ask that question, by the way. So if you have a coach, you should ask them about restructuring or cognitive thought repatterning. There's a bunch of names. There's also a therapy called EMDR that uses your eyes to track where trauma is in your body and where thoughts that you might be having might be keeping you in fight or flight. So if you have trauma in your background and you haven't done work on that, you might want to check out EMDR. That's a great therapy to help you with cognitive restructuring. And all that is, take away the fancy words, is for you to rethink those stories that you're telling yourself about the past and the future so that in the now moment you can make great decisions. The third thing is something called yoga nidra. So if you listen to podcasts, you may have heard someone like Dr. Andrew Huberman or Mark Hyman or this is a really common kind of meditation practice, if you will. It's a guided meditation practice. Usually you have a recording of someone else doing this. Dr. Andrew Huberman and other brain scientists, neuroscientists have them out there, and it is actually also called non-sleep deep rest, NSDR, non-sleep, you're not sleeping, deep rest, right? So you get the benefits of sleeping like 6, 8, 10 hours in about 20 minutes of this guided meditation because it pulls you down into a state where you're actually getting the benefits of deep rest. The reason that's important when we talk about helping you with resilience and distress tolerance is that when we rest, our body heals itself and it can recover from all of the experiences. So if you're having trouble sleeping at night, like your sleep patterns are off, you might want to try this yoga nidra, also called non-sleep deep rest protocol. It's really beneficial, and I know a lot of people who have highly stressful day jobs and or home environments tell me that their sleep is interrupted at night, and it really does impact how well you make decisions and can deal with stressful situations in the day. So get this. This is, if you do nothing else, try this non-sleep deep rest protocol, NSDR, or it's called yoga nidra if you want to search that. The next one is physical exercise. You got to move your body. Stress and emotions that we don't want to deal with get stuck in our body. I've done a deep work fast on this before. I've talked about a book called The Body Keeps the Score. And it's really true, everybody. So especially, I just want to address something. Most of us who have day jobs where we're sitting a lot in a chair like this, doing Zoom, or going from meeting to meeting to meeting, or driving from meeting to meeting where we're sitting, and then we're having those conversations. We're reviewing PowerPoints or reports from people, and some of it doesn't have good news in it. Your emotions, when they go unexpressed, and sometimes it's not appropriate for you to express some of those emotions. Like, come on, like you read an email, someone really makes you angry. Sometimes you don't have time to deal with it and resolve those things in that moment. Well, those emotions get stuck in your body because they're unexpressed. That's the easiest way for me to explain it to you. And so if you're sitting a lot, we tend to kind of push those things down, right? You're not holding them in your chest. Because if you think about it, when you feel emotions like intense anger, sadness, or even happiness, right? We tend to kind of feel it and then we label it with our brain, and sometimes we speak it. But when we don't express those emotions, we kind of like breathe and we like swallow, and then we push it down. I don't want to deal with this right now. It gets pushed down into your body, and we hold a lot of those old emotional feelings and residue, believe it or not, down in what's called your sacral area, which is like your intestines, etc. That's why our digestive tract and that part of our body is called our gut is our second brain. Because when we don't express emotions, it gets stuck down there. I don't know another way to explain it. So you got to move. That's the answer. You don't have to overthink this. You need to exercise. You need to walk. You need to get on the treadmill. You need to get out in between meetings. Schedule yourself time. If you're in a job that's really tight and you have a short lunch break, go outside, walk the office, walk somewhere. Don't just sit there. Really important. The next thing is called cold plunge therapy, something that some people hate, some people like. So the idea of cold plunge therapy, first of all, you do not need to buy a bunch of equipment to do this. I know people say to me, oh, I got to get a cold plunge tub and it costs $2,000. No, you don't. So cold plunge therapy. In Montana, we were doing it in a river. It's cold. That's the idea. So the idea is for you to have a physical experience, and cold tends to do that, or extreme temperatures, but hot, you don't want an extreme hot because you'll burn yourself. Cold is a little different. So you can shock your system with cold for 3 to 5 minutes, maybe. I usually do a 3-minute cold plunge. You could do it in the shower too. It's a little bit different because you're not immersing yourself down to your neck, but you want to shock your body so that your body has a moment there, or 3 moments, where it has to adjust and stay in discomfort. That's not going to kill you. So the great part about that is that you are intentionally saying to your body, we're going to be okay. You breathe through it. You stay in it. And after that, I promise, specifically if you do this in the morning, and many of you have heard me say this before, cold plunge in the morning, other stuff during the day won't feel so hard anymore because you've just done something that you might feel is really hard. I promise, as someone who cold plunges in a river, you get there every morning and you look at the water and you go, really, am I really going to do this? And the idea that you have the courage and that you overcome all the resistance in yourself and then you sit through it and you live it, it builds resilience. It builds distress tolerance. And then later, when you're in situations that feel bad, well, you're going to feel the same things. And then you're going to find that courage, and your body will already know what it feels like to overcome it. And your body will know what it feels like to stay in discomfort a little bit longer so that you can actually resolve the issues that are bugging you the most, or maybe situations that it felt like you couldn't ever get through an impasse with another person, or that this big decision coming up was going to be really, really hard. And we can do hard things. You can do hard things. And this is how we learn how to do it. The last thing I want to talk to you about related to this topic is a support group or community. I advocate that you do all the things I've just talked about with other people, that you find a tribe. It could be one person, it could be a whole group. There are men's groups, there are women's groups. There's so many ways that you can find a group of people to hold you accountable, but also to have the shared experience that are not your family members. They're not people that you work with. So this is so important. I talk to people all the time. You want to be in a group of people who are objective. So go make some friends, join an exercise group, join a men's group, join a women's group. You need the objectivity of this group. You also need the shared experiences. That's why I think AA works for a lot of people, is you don't have to carry the shame of whatever your past is, or the shame of not being able to make the hard decisions that you've been carrying through your life. That might be getting sober. It might be quitting your job. It might be changing your career completely. Who knows? It might be relationship issues. But you have to realize what we often do is that we swallow all this stuff and we're afraid to talk about it with other people because most of us have learned that we need to fake it. We need to walk through life pretending and showing everybody else that we've got all of our stuff together. And that's not true. And so if you can get in a group of people that are safe for you, maybe that have had some of the same experiences, whatever that is, it will make it safe for you to work on what we're talking about today. Distress tolerance, being vulnerable, for you to be able to be with people who are going to have those same experiences. They're going to jump in the river with you. Maybe they're going to jump in the ocean with you. Maybe they're going to cold plunge with you. Maybe they're going to meet you at the gym every morning at 5:30, and they're going to hold you accountable to that. And you all will hold each other. And that brotherhood or sisterhood or whatever it is will create a safe environment for you to do the most important work of your life. So my goal here every week on Deep Work Fast is to help you be the best that you can be at home and at work, in all the roles that you play. Usually for 20 minutes or less. I'm right at 20 minutes. So I'm going to let you go. I hope you'll come back every week for more on Deep Work Fast, where I try to help you do the deepest, most important work of your life as quickly as you can. Because when you're ready to make change, why wait? Okay, this is Chris Grimm. This was Deep Work Fast. Thank you for being with me. And go. Be your best. Okay, bye. Grab the blog. Don't forget. Links down below.